Welcome to another edition of Brevard News, your trusted news source for real news in Brevard County. My name is Kevin Jeffrey, your moderator. Before we get started, remember to share and subscribe and like our channel. We have guests today, and it's Kristin Lortie, who is over Brevard Care's Citizens Coalition Facebook group. Welcome, Kristin. And also, of course, we have with us Katie Delaney, who is running for County Commission seat number 1 in District 1. Welcome again, Katie.
Thank you.
And so what's going on this week? We got a lot that has happened this past week. We have Brevard County seeks to remove funding from some lifeguards in the county. Also, we want to look at the fact that COCO makes crucial votes at workshops, and you might want to find out what they voted on. And also, stop the Shenanigans rally coming up at the County Commission on Tuesday. And so let's talk about these three things. Always something going on in Brevard County. Hey, what's happening with the funding for the lifeguards? Now, the county, from what I understand, decided that they wanted to withhold funding from certain municipalities as far as lifeguards are concerned. Now, the figures show that where there are not lifeguards, the incidence of drowning goes up, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell me about it, Katie.
Yeah. So basically, the county wanted to expand the amount of lifeguards that they had on our beaches, and which is a great thing. You know, we want safe beaches, not only for residents, but for tourists that come to our area. But the problem is, where do you find the money for that? So the original thought of the commission was to use our TDC money, tourist development.
Okay, so when you say TDC, what is that?
It's the tourist development fund, and but unfortunately, that goes against. They're not allowed to use that, according to a attorney general opinion. So then now they're trying to get the municipalities to chip in 50% of the cost of the lifeguards for the beaches that are in those municipalities.
But they haven't been doing that.
They haven't been doing that.
They've been paying more. So the county has been paying more.
Yeah.
And so can we set a little bit of the context with you on this lifeguard decision, why it was so pivotal?
Yeah.
This happened at a workshop.
Exactly.
So you and I were both attendees at this workshop.
What workshop was it?
Great.
The budget workshop for the county.
For the county, okay.
The 229 budget workshop, where each of the divisions comes in and they give these presentations about how they're spending and what their needs are, and they give us charts and graphs about everything. And so we attended this hoping to learn more about the county budget. Well, we weren't
So no
expecting.
one was expecting this.
No one was expecting this.
The places that they're trying to cut the budget for these lifeguards, they were unaware of it, right?
Exactly.
They weren't aware. No one was expecting that there was going to be an agenda item presented during the middle of a budget workshop that reallocated funding that affected the lifeguards on all the beaches.
Oh, yeah.
No one was expecting it. And so that is the setting, even in the midst of the funding itself, it was how Commissioner Tobias, let's make sure we're clear about this, how Commissioner Tobias personally did a presentation on this in the middle of, and then this workshop, he tacked it onto the end of the fire chief's presentation. And then what?
And it was troubling because this was not on the agenda, like Kristin said. It was something that came out of left field. Nobody knew it was happening. The municipalities had no idea, and I'm sure that the municipalities would have loved to speak on this, but they didn't get that opportunity because they didn't publish this on the agenda. And unfortunately, Kristin attempted to speak on this topic, and they did not allow her to speak, even though they took a vote.
I put in a speaker card. So I brought props tonight. I put in 3 speaker cards, and what we're supposed to do, and the agenda said that it would allow us to speak on as many agenda items as we wanted to. So I put in 3 speaker cards plus one that I was able to speak on. All of these were denied, including one that has the vote on it for the Tobias lifeguard vote, because I was downstairs watching this on camera because there wasn't enough room. I was watching it on TV because there was not enough room in the room that they were hosting this. So I was going to the lady that was monitoring that room and saying, I want to speak, because I could see once that they had the lifeguard thing happening, I knew he was headed towards a vote. And so I tried to put in my card, and they denied me access to make my comment, which is what ended up in the newspaper.
So I'm assuming this was legal?
No, it was not legal.
They tell me they can't be doing something that's illegal, right?
They're arguing that well, I've personally gone back and forth with the attorney directly now because I made a public comment at the very end of the meeting. It's hour 3:19 at the end of the meeting, and I brought all of this to their attention. And I said, I have been forbidden from speaking prior to the comment. I've been denied my right to access to the commission. And so what happened was the commissioner said he would check on it. Then after the meeting, he came down to me and he said, the attorney said it was okay. Well, but there's more. I wrote to the attorney to get his legal basis, and his legal basis is arguable. The attorney is saying that because I technically have the right to comment during the decision-making process, of which the budget isn't finalized until September, the attorney is saying that therefore I haven't been denied the right to speak, when we know that they made a binding decision right in front of us at the meeting. So his legal basis is flimsy.
Kristin,
at best.
Katie, tell me, how could they try to get away with this?
This is
what
status quo.
conceivable? So, okay, I'm confused. Help me. I'm a citizen. How do you try to pass this kind of measure without the citizens' input to try to do it underhanded? It's not underhanded, right? Tell me it's not underhanded.
So unfortunately, what we are seeing, what we're experiencing is that our county government and frankly a lot of our city governments could care less about citizen input, and which is really troubling because their whole job, their whole existence is to serve the public. And the fact that they are, quieting the voice of the people is just outrageous.
So this is more the rule than the exception. They're
Exactly.
trying to find any way they can around the citizen input in order to pass through measures that they want to get passed. Is that correct?
That is it. The exception is becoming the norm. That's it. The exception has become the norm, and that's what they're doing. And that's what when we get to Cocoa, same idea.
Yeah.
And it's wrong that they're literally saying that they don't care about the people. And then when you think about the wisdom of it, wouldn't you want everyone to be able to put in their ideas before the vote is made? Instead of, only if you cared, only if you wanted to make a wise decision.
So what cities in the county are affected by this?
I believe that it's Cocoa Beach, Melbourne Beach,
And Indy Atlantic are
Atlantic.
directly affected by
Yeah.
this. Their funding is directly affected by this. And Cocoa Beach has been very squeaky. Cocoa Beach, and I put it up into Brevard Cares, that they have had a meeting just the other day, and because they're so rattled by the disrespect on this, they actually changed their funding for this year, and they decided that they didn't even want to put into the shared pool for the next month. So this actually jeopardizes funding starting on March 23rd, according to their own meeting. So you can watch the whole Cocoa Beach back and forth on this. It is, the mayhem just goes on and on because they don't do something right, and then it rattles everything.
So is the money not there? I mean, Katie, is the money not there, or is what's happening? How do they get to a point to where they believe they have to introduce this kind of measure in order to cut funding for the municipalities that are involved?
It's something, and this is just my observation, my opinion. It's been my opinion that unfortunately, Commissioner Tabaya, he takes these fiscal choices to the extreme sometimes. And rather than doing what's best for the public, as far as, public safety should be above anything else. That's the number one thing about government. Number one is public safety. Sometimes he takes it too far in the name of fiscal conservatism, which I'm a fiscal conservative as well, but public safety is number one. So to me, this just doesn't make sense.
So, but there's money that is there for public safety. The question is, where is money being mismanaged in other places away from public safety, right? Because no one's for undermining public safety.
For sure.
There's money that is there to cover public safety. Is there money that is being mismanaged, or is there not? Is there a shortfall?
So what he's arguing is he's arguing that, well, the cities are mismanaging their funds. And so he tried to look at his budget and look at their budgets and cherry pick out items which they heavily disputed after the fact. And he's trying to say, oh, they have plenty of money to pay for this. So he's trying to argue that they're mismanaging their money so the county doesn't have to give them as much money. And so now with that savings, because he wants them to put in more, then he can divert money over to Brevard Health, the Department of Health, which happens to be currently managed by his former commissioner, Kristin, and he wants to divert funds
Just a coincidence, right?
Just a coincidence. He wants to divert funds out of nowhere over to her cause without ensuring that he has a viable plan with the cities over the lifeguards, and that the public safety, the number one priority that we're already funding, is taken care of.
Okay, so what do you think is going to be the resolution to this? What's going to happen? They took a vote on it.
They took a vote.
So
And
this is a done deal?
unless they come back and change things, which they've sometimes done in the past, so it's possible that they'll reverse this, but
And even at the meeting, Chairman Steele said that he thought this was going to backfire. And then now we've got the mayor of Cocoa Beach that is planning to come to the commission meeting on Tuesday.
Exactly.
And so it's very in flux right now. So I think it's very fluid, and we're going to see what happens. But why did we have, if we had just simply done the process, just allowed the cards, let people speak, would we have all this mayhem?
And the citizens can get involved, and we're going to tell them how they can get involved at the end of the show. The city of Cocoa made crucial votes at a workshop. Again, so there's an end game being run around the public input, and votes were made, crucial votes, about what topics?
So I was at the workshop. So I attended the Cocoa workshop this week, and this was their second workshop. So Katie was at the first one, and we were both at the first one, and then I was at this workshop. And I'm always nervous because I've been following Cocoa since 2021, and I've been seeing these decisions being made at workshops. I have an Excel spreadsheet with over 20 decisions made in 2021 at workshops. Why is that an issue? It's an issue because the workshops are designed for discussion, not decision making. So the board is supposed to discuss it, then they come back at a meeting and actually have a motion, and then
But in
they
the fine
have
print,
their
they do have-
attachments.
Cocoa, you have said that in the fine print, they have said that votes could be taken, crucial votes could be taken at the workshop.
City manager.
Okay.
City manager has come in and he added that to the agendas, that it says,
Very small fine print.
and he highlights it. Highlights it. He says action may be taken at this meeting, and what he means is what we're about to tell you next is that significant action may be taken at the meetings, and that significant action does not end up at a city meeting where it's more exposed, more people have access, more people know where the recording is. It's not heard from again. So that outside of the meeting minutes. So your question was what actions were taking place. So at this particular meeting, they made made a funding choice on the train. Now, everybody on a train station for Cocoa, that's a big deal. I mean, that's something that we've wanted for a long time.
Now, this is in correlation to the issue off of Friday Road as well, right? Are the two
not
different.
really.
okay?
So Brightline owns one of those neighborhoods, but it's not really connected.
So this funding decision is a high-profile decision. People are wanting they're interested in the train. They want to know about the funding. And my concern with the train decision wasn't that they're necessarily, but I'm not sure about the visibility of their budget to know how much we have in the budget to do this. So as a citizen, I don't have a level of comfort that I really understand the budget, first off. But as far as the idea of having the train station, I would have wanted them to revisit that at a city meeting where the whole public knows all the attachments are there, because at the workshop, guess what, there aren't. There's not backup for these decisions. So the city of Cocoa allocated $5 million, according to their motion, $2.5 million a year over 2 years towards the train station, and with no visibility. I mean, the public wasn't, it was one line item on agenda that said nothing about what it actually was going to be proposed at the meeting. So it's vague. And that's what they're using, is vagueness and obtuseness. But there was a second thing that I liked. There was 3 decisions made, but the second one was also very interesting to me. What happened was, one of the councilmen had a guest speaker came in at a time certain in the middle of the Cocoa workshop, gave a public comment in the middle, and the rest of us, plebes, we're sitting there and we can't talk until the mayor says that we can talk. But this individual had an invitation from the councilman to come to the meeting, which can happen. And they came, they gave a very supportable argument. It was a resident who had a disabled child and said that we need disabled playground equipment at our playgrounds. Now that's a very supportable argument, but there's some trouble. And the trouble is, once again, it's happening at a workshop. This person, their need is getting preferential treatment among all the other needs. We have homelessness issues in Cocoa. We have citizens with other needs. There's all these things that are being decided. And we have one person that is giving this treatment. After they gave their public comment, they immediately went to have a short, brief discussion on it to say it was supportable, to say here's where we think we can gather some funding from our District 4 Parks plan, which is a pot of money that should belong to all of the citizens. So they're earmarking already from this in order to pay for this special equipment, right? And guess what they denied? They denied the right to access to speak. I wanted to speak before that item because here's what I wanted to tell them, that you guys should have had public participation in your parks plan. If you had public participation in your parks planning, which you did last year without allowing adequate, would we be in this bind? So,
And the frustrating
very
piece about that is
disturbing.
that this is a supportable idea.
Correct.
Most people would be in agreement on having accessible parks for people.
It's the process.
It's the process. And what if there was a citizen who had an amazing idea to make it even better?
Right.
And they just lost out on that.
So is this becoming a ploy to run the workshops? Are the workshops becoming a ploy to run an end game around the citizens?
Yes. Yes, because what they can do is that when they get those decisions at workshops, and when you really see some of the times when the mayor has been action, he's very heavy-handed to try to get his 3 votes with little transparency, little visibility, right? And to ram those through. It is an absolute endgame. I believe that both the workshops and the consent agenda that we talked about last week, where we put all kinds of city business on those consent agendas, they make our city happenings less visible. They make it so that the council, when they're sitting up there and they're actually deliberating on things, in Cocoa, if you look at our agendas, there's this much that's on the consent agenda and there's this much city business. Why is that? They're making decisions at workshops, they're tucking them onto the consent agenda, and there's not enough business that's being deliberated in the front of the public at the Cocoa meeting. So that is what makes the Cocoa workshops problematic, because as a resident, you sit there and you don't know what they're about to vote on. Just like at the budget workshop for the county. You don't quite know where this is going, but you don't feel good about the ride.
Yeah.
Katie, so tell me, as a politician, what do you think about this and what can be done?
This is not the way that I would consider following sunshine. Honestly, I think that this is a sneaky way to get around the voice and the visibility of the people. And honestly, it's unacceptable because we are there to serve the public. That's it. That's our
But at the
job.
end of the day, you got to have more than just a law, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this comes down to an ethics.
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
about what kind of person you are, right?
Exactly.
So, I mean,
So tell them
because
about
you can
how
have as
you
many.
would stop that. How
Yeah.
would you? What would you change that? Let's make you the commissioner, and what would you do in a situation like that? How might you handle it?
Honestly, I would stop the vote. I would make a stink about we need to make sure that this gets on the agenda. We need to make sure that we give proper notice to the public. And for instance, one of the things that I want to do once I'm commissioner is I want to have some kind of communication go out to the people, giving them a rundown on what's on the agenda, what's coming up. And then we have our meeting. And then after the meeting, I want to have another communication go out to the people I represent. And I want to tell them what happened at that meeting.
What if you were stonewalled by the other commissioners? Is there anything that you could do to run an end game around that to make sure that the people are involved in the process?
That I'm not too sure
You can
about.
vote no.
Yeah,
What you
I
can
can
do
vote
is
no.
she can object.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
can vote no, and she can say, "I'm not voting on this at this
Yeah.
meeting. I recommend that it be brought forth. I
Yeah.
recommend that someone make a motion for it to be brought forth as an agenda item
Exactly.
at a meeting."
This
That's what
has
you could
become
do.
an epidemic, not just at Cocoa. I mean, you're seeing it now at Cocoa. You're seeing it at the county commission. You're seeing it in Titusville. I
And the
mean,
thing
it's just
is,
consistent.
when we get more people into public office that have the integrity to do the things like Kristin was just saying, we can also put pressure on the other elected officials who maybe are a little more sneaky, and you don't even have to say anything, but you just standing up doing the right thing shines the light on the ethics of the issue.
And Katie, a question for you would be, what about policy? Because you
Yeah.
know we've had policy rollbacks with the current commission and with COCO. But if you were on the commission, would you support introducing policy so that citizens had more access? And so you could
Absolutely.
stop the non-agenda voting?
Yeah.
You could put that into the policy so it's very
Exactly.
clear that it's not
One
acceptable.
of the things that we used to have at the county commission, which I spoke on this multiple times at the school board, meetings, was the way that the commission meetings used to be run was there was public speaking in the beginning where you could talk about anything. Then you could speak on every single agenda item if you felt the need to. And then there was also public comment at the end. And that was so great for the meetings to give the people opportunity to give their perspective. And
the timing, so that
Yeah.
someone who has to eat and wants to give a comment and run, they can do it at the
Exactly.
beginning. They can, it really allows flexibility
Yeah.
for the public, and that. So you would
Yeah.
support restoring that.
oh, for sure.
That's what we need.
So there's a little bit. This coming Tuesday, we're having. You guys have something that you wanted to introduce here?
So, there is some interest in this community in doing something different here, and so we want to interrupt this process and disrupt this business as usual. So I have my binder I put together with all of my souvenirs that I'm making in my emails to the county commission, and what we're doing is that we are having a Stop the Shenanigans rally where we are pushing back on some of these things. So I just made this graphic for us so that we would have some talking points. But for people who are interested, here's what we're concerned about. We're concerned about the fact that these shenanigans that happen repeatedly over and over are subverting public input. The commissioners are voting on non-agenda items, and we'd like to put an end to that. There are actions that are against the public input, like that referendum a couple weeks ago with Pritchett's term limit referendum that was against the public interest. Barriers to public records. I've recently gotten a $35 an hour invoice if I want to go in and look at a single binder at the county attorney's office that has
Babysitting
citizen
charge.
suggestions. Babysit the taxpayer charge.
Okay, so,
We don't
so
want
hold,
any
hold
of
on one
those.
second. Now, you were charged to go in to access public records. These are public records, and you were charged $35 an hour
They're
to
telling me in
access
advance.
public records.
In advance that if I want to come in and see the binder and go through the binder, I have to pay $35 an hour staff fee in order to monitor me while I view the public records, of which they're citizen suggestions, several of which are my own. So to go in and pay $35 an hour to read my own ideas and find out what the staff had to say about it. It's a nice thick binder. That picture of it is on Brevard Cares. That is the kind of thing. And our very expensive attorney is the one who is, his office is the one who is assessing that $35 an hour fee. And he's the one that I'm writing back to about this lack of being able to talk to. So we have to think about who is helping our commissioners and our elected officials do this. It's our attorneys. Then then I'm happy to talk about that one. But we have the fabricating of the facts, like when Pritchett in that last Florida Today article, she was quoted saying that there was a basis for the term limits agenda item. And I went to her in person and I read her statement and I said there was no basis of fact in that. And then we have the punitive policy changes, which you're suggesting you might roll back, which is
For sure.
citizens being able to talk, easy access to public records, and getting our citizens back in our government instead of the door being locked with us behind it and being denied our access to our government.
For sure.
These are some of the themes that we'll be interested in seeing change in Brevard
And all
County.
citizens can partake in this, and you're asking people to show up at the county commission and give me, where's the address of the county
It's 20
commission?
I believe it's 2725 Brandon Jameson Way, and it's the county commission building,
It's Tuesday.
At 4:00.
the government building, Tuesday 4 o'clock outside.
Asking people to dress in a certain way or no?
Yeah, so if you can, wear a black or white shirt or something that's black and white.
And think about St. Patrick's Day. If you happen to have a little St. Patrick's gizmo, we are talking
for it.
shenanigans on Tuesday. We got shenanigans.
The fact is that you're trying to show the county government and all governments that the people are wanting to change the direction of the way things are going, correct?
Exactly.
That's correct. That the people matter, and that we want to have a say in our government. That's our.
We want true representation.
That's right.
Okay, so as we close on this episode of Brevard News, I wanted to give this quote from Martin Luther King, and he said this: "The ultimate measure of a man's character is not determined in a time of comfort and convenience, but in a time of crisis and conflict. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Brevard News, and I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful week. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like this podcast. We'll see you again next week. Have a wonderful week.